Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Moving Spotlight Podcast. I'm here with my main man,
Corbin Coyle. Hey, everyone.
Yes. Hey, everybody. This is your chance to take creative control of your artistic career. Corbin, today I want to talk about favorite memes, buddy. Do you have any favorite memes that you're a fan of?
Favorite memes? It's so hard to kind of find a favorite. One of my favorite, and doesn't really fully answer your question, but one of my favorite things to do is to Photoshop just ridiculous things. So I'll just Photoshop a friend's photo that I've had years ago and throw them on a beach or something and add little tags. So I love doing that in my inner circle. It's just kind of it's very specific and only funny to 4 people, but I love doing it.
I feel like, didn't you, the opening of my play that we were all at, you threw our guest Matthew K. Addison into the premiere photo, even though he's in New York. Yeah, and his head was on the side there. Yeah.
I found a nice dapper photo of him in a suit, and he's leaning in. It's my favorite.
I love
thing.
that.
It was so good.
It did. It totally worked. No one else would get it, but it cracked me up. So that was that was great.
What about you? Do you have any specific ones?
I just saw one the other day that was making me laugh, and this was, I guess, more of a video meme. I don't know if there's a difference, but it was this little boy who's probably 2 or 3, and he's falling asleep, and in his hand is a sandwich, and he's falling asleep, and his mom is trying to take it from him, and his eyes are closed, and as she reaches and starts to pull it away, he's like, no, and then he goes back to sleep, and then she reaches for it, he goes, no, and it's the funniest thing. He's asleep, but and then his eyes kind of open, and he looks at her, but you can tell he's exhausted, so he goes back to sleep, and she keeps trying to get a sandwich, and he is so protective.
Oh God.
And it reminds me, when I used to put Quill, my son, to bed when he was a baby, I put my hand on his chest, and he'd be pretty much asleep. But when I try to take my hand away, he would grab it, just out of he would just feel the heat, I think, disappearing. Instinctually, he would grab it and put it right back there, So I'd have to replace it, almost like Indiana Jones with a teddy bear or something, you know what I mean? And then I could escape. You know?
Your hat's still there, and you're like, no, you have to lean
exactly,
over and grab it.
I did that. So yeah, the sandwich, the baby sandwich.
That's so funny. Kids do the funniest thing. It's so good.
It's wild what they do. Well, I want to pivot and get to our guest right away. We already chatted before we even started, Corbin, and you can tell he's got great energy.
So great.
He's one of my favorite people in the casting space. I've known him a long time. We're not going to get into how many years. This is casting extraordinaire, Michael Sanford. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hi. Hey, Corbin.
Yeah.
So great to have you, Michael. Oh, memes. What do you think?
I love them.
Michael is the meme king. That's one of the reasons we picked this topic. How did you become the meme king? I mean, your Instagram is
it's the funnier ones though, are more on the personal account, the business one. I try to keep it it's more inspirational and positive. But I think it all started during the pandemic when I was bored. Just joining every meme. Whenever I would see I would follow them and just started, I'll credit them. If you click on it, you'll see where it came from.
That's so good.
Yes. Corbin, I heard you talking about creating your own memes. I want you to show me how to do that.
Yeah. I just have Photoshop on my phone, and it's very sloppily done, but you can just kind of erase your own and tag whatever you want.
That's
great.
So great. That's good to know. Yeah. I'm always thinking when I see a certain photo or something, this would be a really funny meme.
Yes.
So yeah,
you got to do it. My favorite one that I found on your Instagram was, Dear Siri, it's never duck. that one cracked me up. I was like, why does it always autocorrect a duck?
I love there was one, I think it was I told my mom that WTF means, wow, that's fantastic. And it was now she's having a lot of fun texting me or something like that. She's having
she's enjoying it now.
She keeps saying WTF, Mom. I'm going on vacation. WTF, it's great. But then she saw the meme and she watched people's, and then she commented, I know what it means.
I figured it out, Michael.
Yeah, it was very funny. It was a good one.
Yeah, there was a song, Corbin, a little bit ago went through a breakup. We're not going to go there, Corbin. Don't cry. We're going to keep it on the up and up. And I sent him a song, which is it's this song. It goes, I'm not going to say it exactly, but I heard the clean version, and it goes ABC, forget you. But the dirty version is just the letter, and that's the one I'd heard. And then I was at the gym, Corbin, and I just heard the forget you, and I was like, oh, that's different, but it still kind of works, So they kind of work it in, the clean version.
It starts with an F.
Yeah, it does. Exactly. It starts with an F. Yes. Well, Michael, I really want to discuss, you've been a casting director for a while. You are a big fan of actors, but I want to talk about your casting lineage, just because, kind of how you got started, how you moved through the ranks. Because I think it's really, interesting who you've worked with and how you kind of, have become who you are.
Wow. It started in 1927.
Black and white, no sound.
The city was in
sound.
black and white. Like everything was black and white. No, I came out here for summer in 1987, right out of college. I was a young actor, and I'm like, I'm going to go to LA for the summer. I had just graduated and said, I want to just see what that's like. And it's 35 years of a summer now. Out here for but I was bartending and waiting tables. That's to make some to make money. And I met a commercial casting director who used to come in with her boyfriend. She would sit up at the counter, and she didn't tell me what she had done. He would just ask me a lot of questions about the business and where did I study, and and then eventually she told me, and then I was asking her questions about the process, and she invited me to go to her studio and watch some of this, and just became fascinated with it. Eventually I was blowing off my auditions to go to her callback session because I wanted to see who was going to book it, because I was helping her with with input. And so it really eventually became a very natural transition for me. I really started to gravitate. I had more interest in that, and just wow, this is a puzzle. It's like a blank canvas, and I really like this better. So I eventually segued out, but before I segued out full time, I became a freelance assistant in town to maybe 20 different casting offices. And then, I was just roving from studio to studio as they needed me, and then at that point I had quit the restaurant, and I was still acting a little bit, but wasn't really pursuing it. It was like, if something would come in, I would do it, or a play, or, but then I went to work for another company full time, and I realized, that I could eventually do this on my own. So it was in 2000 I decided, I think I'm going to try this for a year. I'll give it 1 year and see what happens. And I opened, and it was May of 2000, so it was 22 years ago this month. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And 2 weeks after I opened was that 6-month commercial strike. I don't know if you guys were born yet.
Oh, no.
It was like a 6-month. So I was I had just gotten married. We had just bought a house. I opened this casting company. She was a talent agent. She opened her own agency. And then I'm like, I got to go back to bartending. And I did. I went back and, was catering and bartending. And then literally when the strike ended, I had put a demo reel together of some things that I had done on my own, 3 jobs maybe, and was knocking on doors. And then I found, I was at, I think it was Radical Media, one of the companies in Santa Monica. And as I was going in there to drop off a demo reel back then, I think it was on 3/4 or 1/2 inch, or,
tape, everybody. That's tape.
It was tape. Yeah. It was
1/2 inch tape.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, but a friend of mine who I used to bartend with was walking by. He's like, dude, what are you doing here? So then he took me in and introduced me around. And then that started, work there. And then from that, it just became like a snowball thing, and you just start to meet people, and they hire you again, hopefully. And so I'm grateful every time I get a job. I always think that, like what you guys go through, I always think my job is the last job I'm ever going to have. That's it. It's time to move on.
It's been a good career.
No, and I don't really, the older I get, you don't think that. I enjoy the downtime when there's downtime too.
So, is there anything you wish you when you opened up in 2000, that you wish you knew then that you know now? Is there something, I bet the learning curve is tremendous.
Oh God. Yeah. Not to, the biggest thing for me was I put so much pressure on myself. I took everything so ultra seriously. And, I'm like, dude, you're not an accountant. You don't have to balance a tea table, just, it's more, approach it from the creative side more, it's a business too, but yeah, it's just, I think the older you get, and when you go through different things in life, you just, you always say to your younger self, I wish, or I try to impart this to young actors or just younger people, don't take everything so seriously, because nothing's guaranteed.
Yeah.
You know, I'm grateful that I literally, like, every day I wake up and I'm alive. That's good. Like, I never used to think that.
Yeah.
years ago. Like, I took that for granted. It's like people would say to me, you're lucky to be alive. I'm like, yeah, I'll be alive for a long time. You don't know that. We don't. I hope I am, but
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael, how did you develop your, and this is for actors out there, how did you develop, like, find your actors? Like, was it based on, headshot submissions and you just got used to that? Was it when you were in the room with people and you kind of like, how did you get your, how did actors stand out to you? How did you get like, oh, these are people I want to bring in when I have my own office and things like that? Was it in callbacks?
Yeah, it was just from running sessions for so many people, being an actor, being, in different theater companies and schools. And, I just started to know people, I just got to know them, so that when I was doing my own jobs and I would see their submissions, which was a headshot back then, like, oh yeah, it's John Ruby. I remember him from, so it became like a snowball thing. Like, it's little by little. And then all of a sudden you have like this database in your mind of, now I can't, there's so many I can't remember. Like, and I hear that from my actors. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'll get you on the next one. I'm so sorry. But if I don't see it sometimes, because like I'm literally, I don't think, unless I'm specifically going to my files, like I have desktop files of, but everything, it's just such a different world now with, the whole online situation and thousands of submissions coming at us.
What if an actor, I mean, this is just kind of jumping in, Michael, if they want to try to get on your radar and they're not, do you find them through like social media now? I mean, I know it's challenging, but how do they, is it through a good agency? Improv?
We're very open to unrepresented people. Like there's a business account on social media and people have reached out to me that way. Although I just learned maybe a year ago that a lot of people have been, but I didn't know you couldn't see all the messages.
Right. Yeah. There's kind of like almost like a spam folder if you don't know them.
Yes. So bad. Like people grew up with, like, just trying to say hello. I'm like 2 years later.
Corbin, that's why he didn't get back to you.
Yeah,
right. Is that why? Did you not read it? Did you not get it? Did you get it or not, Michael?
Corbin, your phone was disconnected.
It was so weird. It doesn't feel.
Why am I not getting texts? Why am I not getting texts? Can you text me just to test it? I think Michael's trying to reach me. Michael's trying to reach me.
But I do have an account. I have an actor's email account, so I could give you guys that.
Let's do that, please. That'd be great.
Should I just text it to you or chat it?
Well, let's just say it because people are listening a lot of times.
People will be listening. And it's Sanford Casting at gmail.com.
And the letter M, and then SANFORD casting.
And the word casting, all one word, at gmail.com.
Yeah. And we'll throw it in the description too, so people can find it.
Yeah, put it in. Every time I do classes or go to different events, that's the email address I give.
Amazing.
And the thing is with that, I think the way I feel about it, and Michael, I don't want to hear your opinion, but I feel like if people hear about something that they're right for, not every week. That's the big thing. Not every week, obviously, not every day, but it's like if there's something you're right for, sending a reminder, like you said, you have so many people on your brain, because I know people like that where, if they're constantly saying, hey, John, are you helping cast something, but it gets irritating. But if it's like something that they're right for, and I just have got a lot going on, it's nice to be reminded and be like, oh yeah, this person is perfect for it, or they're not. It doesn't bug me. It's just like, what a great reminder, as long as it's not for everything, stuff that's a reach, stuff that, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think, and there's as long as people aren't sending you something every day, I think, but everything that helps, because I'll look at that and it might not be for this particular project, but then they're in my mind. It's imprinted in my mind already because I had just read an email from somebody, or, back when we were at the studio full time, I would always look at those postcards, because so, I mean, that was a way. I remember one time the internet went out, like this was a while ago, but we were like, okay, go through our box. Let's see who's right. So I just think you never know. And I always encourage actors to put it out there because someone might see it. It might not be, right away, but, and I really do. I mean, it might take me weeks to return emails from that account, but I do go through it. My staff goes through it too. And they'll forward me, like, oh, we met you at a class 2 weeks ago and you asked me to send you, they'll just forward it to me and make sure I see it quicker.
And what about like gifts or something, like something a little bit more like after they've booked the job, or like, do you have any recommendations for actors who are, that kind of stuff?
I think a car.
Yeah, you love. It's like a Porsche.
Nice.
Yeah, like a nice
A
sports
nice-
car.
Yeah, a new watch.
Yeah.
A Rolex.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
Rolex. No,
You bougie.
I don't think gifts. I encourage actors not to spend money and
Yeah.
buy gifts. You know, sometimes a thank you card, like just the, like I used to. There was a time, like they mean a lot to us. Like I've gotten cards from actors that said, "Oh wow, I just want to thank you. That commercial like saved me. You know, I was ready to go back home and was going to move out of LA, but because of that, I made my insurance." And
Wow.
I mean, it feels like, so that kind of stuff is more meaningful. And it could be an email now, just say, you know, thank you, but no gifts.
No
Save your
gifts.
money.
Yeah.
Save the money. Yeah.
Michael, one of the things when Corbin was doing his research, I don't do research, but Corbin brought up that you worked on The Artist, and I was like very intrigued and curious about how that came about, because obviously, I mean, I know you from the commercial casting world and stuff like that, but how did it come that you worked on The Artist? That was so cool to see, and I was super excited. So yeah.
We started going into features about 2010, maybe
Wonderful.
2009. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because when I opened, it was 100% commercials,
Yeah.
you know, and I would say it's 60% commercials and 40% theatrical now. And it just is happening that way.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful to be working. I'd like to work in all the mediums. I'm trying to get more into television, but with that film, there was a movie called I Melt With You, which Mark Pellington did. He did Arlington Road, Mothman Prophecies, Nostalgia a couple of years ago. So, and we were doing all his music video. He did the Jeremy music video, if anyone, like he goes back to the MTV days, and great guy.
Yeah.
And he knew I wanted to try to get into feature film. So he was doing a movie, which I recommend you guys as you get older watch. It's really good. It's like the male, you know, going through a midlife crisis. This four men, it was Jeremy Piven, Rob Lowe, Thomas Jane, and I can blank on the last guy, but they all went to college together, and they're having this midlife crisis. He knew I wanted to get into features. Heidi Levitt was casting it. She was like a big independent feature casting director and does commercials now too, and it was wonderful. And he asked Heidi, you know, my commercial guy wants to learn features. Can he help you on this? And she said, oh yeah, you know, have him. And we knew who each other was, but she said he can cast all the kids to these people. So I cast like all the kids in the supporting roles, like small day player parts on that. And then I went to the set and that's when I think I really met her like in person and everything. Cause I did a lot of that at where I was working, and she was working at her studio. When I met her on the set, she goes, you know, it really turned out well. I really enjoyed working with you. And I just got this little black and white silent movie. And I think, you know, you'd be great because it's commercials. You know, I mean, you do commercials and there's no dialogue in this movie, and you could help me with like commercial actors. And I was, you know, it was a theatrical job. I was so happy. And and it turned out to be The Artist. Like she made me her associate casting director on it. And we just approached it like we were doing a job. You know, we did all the auditions in black and white, and it was really a cool project. But then it exploded, and you know, and that's when everything really changed for me in that world. Like she and I won that award that year. I didn't even know what an Artios Award was. She's like, you have to join the Teamsters and join the CSA. And I'm like, why? She goes, we're getting a lot of publicity over that. And and then I did, and then I became very active in the CSA. I was on their board for 2 years, and but Mark and Heidi really opened up the theatrical world to me.
It's interesting. I love that, Michael, and that's so cool. And I loved that movie. I think it was such a great movie. So, you know, kudos on that. Congratulations. And I think it's interesting, you know, how it was birthed was from that referral, and then you being ready in the sense of, you know, you've done all these castings, you know, kids, you know what I mean? You've got this great energy. And I think that's one of the interesting things when people ask me, like, I want to be a session director. And I always say, you have to be careful with who you're referring, because it comes back to you, you know? And so when people are like, I really want, you know, I'm an actor, I want to be a session director, I want to learn about casting. And I used to always say yes to everybody. And then I have to see them put in the energy and effort, because when someone's not good and I bring them in, the casting director looks at me and is like, John, you brought this person in, you know what I mean? And so it's one of those things where I think it's okay to ask for referrals and stuff, but you've got to like be as prepared and ready and open to learn and willingness and show it from your end. You know what I mean, Michael? Like to have that connection. And then obviously Heidi, saw that you're an amazing person, right? But I think that's an interesting thing when that happens, those opportunities happen.
She would be a mentor. I know we did other projects together, and I know she was out of town for a long time. I haven't spoken to her in a while, but she was with her husband in Vermont doing a documentary. But she's amazing. Yeah, she'd be one of my casting mentors. So
I love that.
Yeah.
What about when kind of a little bit more specific in the room, like commercial auditions versus theatrical? Like, how much do you like improv? How much do you like all the fun kind of stuff that actors can kind of bring? What do you recommend? Yeah.
Wow. They're such different processes.
For sure.
And we'll always do instructions, something. So, but I think improv is important generally. I think it might even be more important in commercials though, because a lot of times there's no dialogue, and improv could be a reaction. It's not only just saying something off the cuff and
being present.
But I think it frees an actor up in any, no matter what medium they're auditioning for. But for commercials, we'll always, we'll give instructions about do it scripted, and then we'll try to do a take where you are improving, or I don't mean improving, but making it your own, or, just changing maybe the dialogue a little bit. With a scene, it's really tough to improv. You can find moments between the lines, but you have, a lot of times with commercial copy, they want to hear, especially if it's a pharmaceutical, there's so much legality involved with writing that they have to say everything as scripted. But we'll always just try to put a take where make it your own, just to see what you guys do, just to see what the actor does. And then we don't, if it's not, if we're in the room, we'll adjust it. But if it's a self-tape and we think, it might not be good to show this, we won't present it. But it's good for me to see. Took a great adjustment. It was really good, but I don't want the client to, get the wrong idea or something, or, So I think it really just helps me understand an actor's level.
Okay. And what about like with self-tapes? Like if you're in the room, obviously it's a little bit easier to be like, don't do that. Let's do this. But like with a self-tape, do you want them to kind of make it their own? Or I guess the instructions will make it clear.
Yeah, the instructions will really make it clear, but we'll always err on more than one or two, usually two takes on a self-tape. And the second tape is always going to be taking more risk, making it your own, maybe go a little, I don't want to say broader, but like really incorporate, don't hold back, and then if that starts to happen and they're going too far, we'll even do this, if there's not a lot do a third take and do nothing. Give me deadpan just to get the range.
Interesting.
So, and the self-tape thing has come so far. It's come a long way since the beginning of COVID, but if we have enough time, this is a lot of times why we'll always ask actors to get them into us. We'll give you a deadline, and ideally we would love to give you a couple of days if we can. We can't always, with theatrical stuff, we always can, we pretty much do, but with commercials, it's at least a day, but it's a lot. Sometimes it is same day. But in all fairness to you guys, if we're putting it, that's only if we're putting it out in the morning. Like I can't expect you to, put this out at 12 and you get it back to me by 2. You're not even, you're on a plane or something. So, but if I get them back with enough time to redirect, that's how I'll redirect before we present it to the client. So, but generally speaking, the people we ask to self-tape, we know we're watching their footage online, or we know who they are. And if it's somebody new, I'm studying their resume, or like if I always look for footage on anyone, whether it be commercial or theatrical, whatever we're working on, I want to see. And I would always rather see it, even for commercials, a theatrical reel. Commercials are great, but a lot of times it's just, you're not saying anything, you're reacting in the car with 3 other people, which is great. But if you have a reel where I could hear you and, do a character and walk and talk, and it just kind of helps bring the headshot to life.
Yeah, I was going to say, what specifics are you looking for in a reel? Like, are you trying to find, just hear what they sound like and what they are?
Yeah. Like when I watched your reel, I didn't know you. So I watched your reel last night, and it was great how you had just different clips back to back.
Just different versions.
There was one in the middle. I would recommend opening with it because it's really strong. Yeah.
Interesting. Which one was it?
It wasn't, the first one was with the girl.
Yeah.
And then what was this? The second one was with another woman, but that was more of like a film,
Mhm.
or what was
Yeah.
the third one where you say?
Was it the one with like the ominous music and like the very close up?
Yes.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Open with that
cool.
because
Good to
it's
know.
so. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah,
It's
for
because
sure.
it was so strong, and a lot of times we won't make it past.
Yes.
You had really good clips, but you always want to open with something really strong that's going to, because a lot of times people will only sit through
10 seconds
10
or
or
whatever.
20 seconds. Yeah. I always try to, if I'm going really fast, like, I'll try to get into the second chapter just to see the difference.
Mm-hmm. So you're just
Because
skipping
it's really
around.
hard to
Yeah,
just judge by one clip.
of course. Yeah. Interesting. Good to know.
Michael, as I sit here, are you teaching any classes right now or something? Because you are so lovely.
Yes.
I'm just like watching this happen, and I'm just like, what a beautiful way to give feedback, and also that you put in the effort to watch that and stuff. Are you teaching any classes right now or anything?
I don't do it. I used to do it on my own when I was remember the Casting Underground? Is that
Yes, I wanted to talk about the basement.
that was,
about that place.
That was like 10 years ago. Like I would
God.
I would work during the week, and I would do a kids class
Yeah.
Saturday mornings and then an
Yeah.
adult class. It was killing. It was just too much work.
Yeah.
But I go in for other schools. Like
Okay.
Killian has had me in. I just did something with TVI with Vicky Goggin. It was a 4-week commercial
Okay.
workshop where she does 2 weeks, I do 2 weeks.
Okay.
I've got into oh God, just like Judy Kane. I can't remember the name of.
Oh yeah, Judy Kane. Yeah.
Judy Kane
Okay.
School.
Well, I would recommend if you see
Margie
Michael Sanford.
Haber, I've done a lot with Margie Haber too.
If Michael Sanford is teaching somewhere, folks listening, take a class with him because he's awesome, great person to know, and we got a little taste of it right there, Michael,
That's
which
so
was
good.
just
Oh,
great.
thanks.
So
Yeah, I like it. I don't. I mean, I don't mind teaching. I just wish that if I had more time, I would probably do it on my own. Maybe
Yeah.
someday. We'll see.
Michael, you're talking about auditions and kind of improv. Don't you think the most challenging, like especially commercial auditions, are like the pharmaceuticals, like right to camera? I always
Yeah.
feel like those, like
Yeah,
where it's a
yeah.
monologue and it's
Right.
it's always like people are like, well, I always see the same people doing them, and I'm like, yeah, because it's really freaking hard. It's
a
really
technique.
it's a
Yeah.
technique because it's like the language to make it sound, and it's always the most unnatural language that they're like,
I
make this
know.
sound natural, make it sound conversational. You're like, no one says these words in real life. Like there's no one, this phrasing, these
know.
words are rarely used unless you're in a hospital or something, right?
Yeah, and a lot of times you're right because it's medical jargon. I commend and give so much credit to the commercial actors, and I'm so glad they're getting more credit now. Than we're also commercial casting directors are in the CSA now. That just came about. In
Congratulations, I
20.
love
Yeah,
that.
we were fighting. We
Love
really
that.
worked for that.
Could
And
be, yes.
but that's a lot of times, it's such a specific technique. Like you just said, you're acting, you're doing a scene with each other. The camera's like framing one of you. You're looking right into the lens. Like when you're doing like big names like that are working wonderful, like A-list actors sometimes have a hard time. It's a very different process. So that's a lot of the reason why when like an ad agency or a director will find someone that works a lot and does it, because they have to get that in a short amount of time.
Yes.
On like one day. So, but I always encourage people to train. That's why commercial workshops are really important. I think there's so many in town right now. There's so many good ones, and it's just a question of who somebody clicks with. But I think, what was your question?
No, I was just saying, I think those are really challenging.
Pharmaceuticals and dialogue.
Yeah, I think they're really challenging, and I think you're right. Whether you're in a class or whether you're doing it yourself or whether you have auditions, it's really hard to just step in and do that once every 4 months and be really good at it because it's very challenging. It's different than a scene, like you're saying. So that was it. Yeah, that was.
But you know what, actors? I just want to say this too. There's a lot of pressure actors put on themselves with a pharmaceutical commercial, for example, that they have to come into that audition and nail it like in one take. You're going to shoot that copy, like that wall-to-wall copy, over like 8 hours. The first 3 lines are going to be in front of a green screen, and then you'll cut. So we always just encourage you guys to be as natural as you can, and a lot of times, just get it out there. Just like a lot of like it's different with self-tapes because I think you guys could work on it and choose your take a little bit, but in person. We'll always, if you're sitting working on that in the waiting room, and we'll always put that kind of stuff out like a day before. It's a lot to ask you. We're still going to have it on a cue card or a Chiron. But it's very different when you come in and say it for the first time in front of people, like as opposed to like working on it off a sheet in the lobby or at home. So that's where we'll work with you, and just try and, and if you fumble, just recover and come back into it. Don't say, oh, can I start all over again? Because it's like, well, we have to start over. You just cursed on camera. I can't really send that to the client. So, but yeah, no pressure though.
Michael, what's like one of the biggest, it could be one or two. What are one of the biggest challenges of your job of being a casting director?
It's a good question. One of the biggest challenges is to I don't know.
There's no challenge. Easy. It's so easy for Michael. Michael's like, I just like snap my fingers and it all happens.
Like the biggest challenges is to really tap into the vision of whoever we're casting for. Like whether it be, I don't know, McDonald's, or whether it be a film or a show or a TV thing. It really, it's tapping in. I just worked on something. I do a lot of like panel and events with either the CSA, CCDA, and I just did something which I never even knew existed. The commercial directors diversity group. Commercial directors directed or association.
Yeah.
And it was the ad agency, they had people from Saatchi there, and some commercial directors and producers and executive producers and actors and casting directors. And it was really interesting to hear, and it's good for an actor to know we're still selling a product. Even if you're like the main person in the commercial, it's still going to be about the car. It's still going to be about, so that's a challenge. It's just making sure we're getting what we have to get for them, and the same thing if it's a scene or it's a character in a film or on a TV show. It's like, is this the vision? Is this how they see it? But what's interesting is we do have some, we don't have as much power as people think we do, but we do have some creative input where we could say, maybe try, I know you were reading Corbin, but I want you to try maybe go in a John Ruby direction or vice versa, or, maybe go with a different ethnicity, where that's where we can try to, we were talking a lot about that too, like because a lot of times I think with advertising, the specs are more, they're stricter than like if we have more leeway, I think, if we're casting something for a feature. But that being said, it's changed so much.
Yeah.
The commercial world. It's a different room when I look at the waiting room now than maybe 20, 25 years ago, or even the submissions if I'm doing it online. So, which is really good. I mean, we have a long way to go, but there's been a lot of progress around inclusion and all of that.
I just saw so the movie I acted and produced called Solver, Michael. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, I remember seeing all the. I would love to see it. I remember seeing all your.
Yeah. So it's out there now. It's on Amazon and stuff. But the guy who kind of plays like my kind of right hand man. He just got a pilot, which I'm super excited. So his name is Pablo Castelblanco, and I just saw he's working on, I think it's called Alaska, maybe CBS with Hilary Swank, which is super exciting. But the reason I bring it up is when I saw that, I flashed to his auditions, Michael. And in my mind, when we were casting that, we kind of had like a little short guy in mind and all these things. And then Pablo came in and just crushed it. And, we allowed some improv and stuff and, had me rolling, felt like the character, all these things, and just like took the role. But he was not exactly, he was in the casting, but he wasn't exactly what maybe we had in mind at the beginning. Yeah. And he completely changed our mind. And it was really cool. And it's neat to see him have success. But I just remember being in the room, being like, feeling like the magic happening and being like, oh yeah, this is like, even though we had an idea, this feels like where it's going to go.
Yeah. And it's so wonderful that you were open to that. And because that's where, we as casting directors could, or directors, or, the creatives will even say, I know we said this, but give us some options and maybe 10 years older or 10 years younger or different, maybe go with a different sex or ethnicity so that's wonderful. But yeah, I think a lot of times you just have to go with whoever is doing the best.
But my God, and this it's been a while, so it might be incorrect, but I remember at the Casting Underground, I think I was working with you. Did we do a big Snickers commercial together that Adam Pauly ended up Okay, no, you're
I
not.
don't
It's not
remember.
flashing. Okay.
Yeah.
The only reason I remember is they were casting in L.A. and New York. So I was just curious if you have any thoughts. I don't know. It's kind of interesting when they're casting in Chicago, L.A., New York. What you've seen behind the scenes, because I feel like I remember it being a pretty big spot. This was even before Happy Endings, which was a while ago. And in LA, they really liked like Ben Bagley, who's a great actor who I love.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. But then so they were kind of deciding between like different places. So I guess all I'm setting up or getting you thinking about is like location, where you're located, how that works now with, self tapes and,
Yeah, it's changed so much because of that. I don't know if you guys know too, we opened, do you remember, I don't know if you knew Jillian, who was my associate here for years.
I did not know her, I don't
She,
think.
yeah, she's wonderful. She gave notice about 5 years ago because she was getting married to an actor that was from the South and they were moving to Atlanta. He was from New Orleans, but they were leaving to go to Atlanta. I didn't know about the Atlanta market. So she goes, let me open an office here for us. And I made her a partner there. I just great idea.
Wow.
Once I realized what's happening. And then with everything going on with self-tapes, there's two ways to go with that. We're very open to, if the client is like, yeah, you can open it up. And a lot of them have been doing that. If it's a regular budget and a good budget and they're going to fly someone out, that's great. But a lot of times with like the local stuff, let's say we're casting in Atlanta and there's people like in the surrounding cities, even Florida or where else do we get? North Carolina is a big place to submit. Well, you have to be local hires. We'll put that on a breakdown, but we're still getting a lot of submissions. But I think it really depends on the project. We were doing something for Argentina recently. It was a mini series trying to find one character here. It was the only American character, and we opened it up across the country because they were flying him to callbacks were virtual, and they were just going to fly him to Argentina from wherever he was coming from. So yeah, I really and then a lot of the real people stuff, the same thing. Well, that really depends too on what city. But I do see it opening up more to actors outside of the region maybe they're located in.
What is that conversation like? Why does it open up? Is it just because you want something specific, or is it a different dialect, or like what is the reason?
Yeah, that's it. With this project we were doing for Argentina. It was we were trying to find them. His name is Joe Jebbia. He started Airbnb. And yeah, so he had it. We were trying to match him. So it was a look and an essence. And so we just opened it up with a picture of him and the height and the weight. And, for that reason, we opened it up across the country. We got some amazing people from, everywhere. So something like that, if there's, I don't know why else we would.
So you're trying to match a look and then have and that's interesting because sometimes I find that when they're like doing sports stuff where they're like, okay, we need an athlete who can act. So they open it up bigger because it's like, okay, we need someone that kind of looks like Magic Johnson, for like the show Winning Time, or someone that looks like Larry Bird that, so I think sometimes.
Yeah. If there's a special skill involved, we'll open it up. If they're not finding it here, let's say it's so specific and they're like, okay, let's open this up, to Chicago, New York. And, if you can just put it out nationwide, and we can release a breakdown nationwide. Have you guys gotten work from in other states or auditioned for other?
Sorry, John, I know you have, right? Or
I have, I'm doing a movie in Chicago this summer, Michael. So,
congratulations!
Yes, thank you. So, and that was a self tape, and then we did a callback over Zoom, and we just did a table read on Wednesday a couple days ago, and so I'm excited. So I get to see my folks in Wisconsin, and then I'm going to shoot the movie in Chicago. Yes, I think it's great. I mean, the thing is, I think actors have to realize, you got to be able a lot of times if there's no budget to get your ass out there, to find a place to stay. And that's sometimes you can't overpromise, oh, I thought it would, so I think that's the big thing is you got to understand, the realities of it. Not just
you just said something really important though for actors. If you say you're going to be a local hire, you really need to mean that.
Right. Yeah.
Because if we know that and you're right and you're good, we're selling and pushing for you. Yeah. And then when, at the last minute, I can't really afford the flight after all. And So I think you have to really just, communication and your word is everything. And
And Michael, it's funny because, and I haven't been asked this in a while, but like sometimes actors are like, well, what do casting directors hate? Or, can you get like whatever blackballed or whatever? And I've only seen it once in an office, and it was because the actor like double booked themselves and pulled out of one of the jobs. That was the only time I've literally there's been a lot of other things that have happened, but like people move on. But like if it's like intentional bad communication or, changing what you said, I think that to me is where people
it's
like
really,
that's what's really frustrating, it can be very frustrating.
It's just not being transparent and truthful. I mean, the more information we have, the more we can fight for you. And we know what our parameters are. We had that happen once too, where somebody, it was a theatrical versus a commercial. But they're like, we're going to take the theatrical. And, our client didn't care. I mean,
true.
They're like, I don't care that he's up for theatrical. He's booked, and he's supposed to be working on this. So it's just not good. I mean, you really have to, unfortunately, cut your losses at that point and take the commercial, which is not a loss. You're working.
Right. Exactly.
So,
exactly. Yeah.
But stuff like that, I think, lying on resumes and like, but it's so different now because like if you say you're a wonderful basketball player, we're going to see clips of it. You're going to have to show us what you say you're going to do. Back in the day, it wasn't we didn't have that. Unless we'd literally go to a park and rent a park for a callback or. So it's really, I think it's just check the dates, make sure you're available for the shoot dates, make sure you don't have a conflict.
Michael, I can't remember if I told this story, but I was working with Mimi on the podcast yet, but I was working with Mimi Webb Miller, who I loved. And we had a callback where someone had to ride a horse and be on a cell phone. But the horse they got for the callback was like a draft horse, not a riding horse. So that was that was the only horse they could get. So it was like one of the wide backs and they had no saddle. So like people would show up at the callback and like you had to be really comfortable on a horse. And I saw so many people show up and be like, no, can't do that. And turn around. So it wasn't even that like, the saddle and maybe you could fake it. It was like extra challenging because like this is just a wide draft horse.
Oh my God. It's better than like one of the ones you have to put a quarter in. You're right. It's like outside of Kmart or something.
Michael, what's your relationship with, I'm just curious, with other casting directors? Like, do you kind of feel like you work, with your associates and assistants? Do you feel like you like being at places with other casting directors? I mean, I know Casting Underground, there's other people. How do you?
I miss it. I do. We're very especially the commercial world. There's like such a camaraderie, like with, a lot of us are in the same space a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So I do miss being at the office full time with people. And, but I'll partner with people on certain projects and, we have our meetings, the CCDA, or CSA, and we see each other on Zoom, or we've all started to get together and socialize again and have lunch. And I saw you had Danielle on. I was supposed to have lunch with Danielle and Karen from Canvas Casting. And I think and I also think casting directors have come a long way. Where we were talking earlier before we started rolling about.
Don't say everything, Michael.
No, I won't.
I just can't.
Just like the negativity and the meanness.
Oh yes.
I think people finally have gotten to the clients and directors and everyone that they don't want to work with that, and it's just not so. And I think COVID changed everything for all of us. I think it really humbled so many people, and it really brought some of these egos down. I'm not saying casting egos, but people's egos.
Talking about yourself though. Yeah, that
I'm talking about big ego. Yeah. I'm on a little computer now. I used to be on a big.
People used to bring Michael coffee. Where's his coffee? I said soy milk. What is this? Cow milk?
Only green M&Ms.
How do you handle because it's such a small world and everything, like referrals to agents or something, like somebody like different actors who are wanting, it's such a weird specific thing. Like, do you like when people ask? Do you think it's taboo? What are your thoughts?
It's quite honestly, I never had a problem, and I always try to help if I could. But lately, for some reason, it's becoming. I'm getting at least 1 or 2 emails a day.
Wow.
Yeah. And people that I, just haven't spoken to, and I understand, I really get what people are going through, but it's not, I can't just pick up a phone and say, will you see Corbin, please? Because he needs, and it's work. It's a process. I have to research lists and see if they have conflicting types. And But again, if I can help, I'm always willing to help. But I encourage actors to try that on their own before they reach out
Sure.
to a casting director, because it's really, yeah, I have a waiting list though. I'm working with 3 people right now to try to help them find representation. So, and I get it. I will always have an actor empathy because I was an actor and I know how this is. But I also realize, like you were asking me before, what's different now? There's a lot that I think people don't realize that what we can and can't do. I think we're all given, and also that you have to do certain things as actors and take the initiative. And, have you done them, especially with a commercial agent, have you done a mailing? Because their rosters are turning over quicker than the theatrical agents, because, people will leave to go on a series, or they're moving, or they're going away, or they don't want to, for whatever reason, they're dropping out. So, and the commercial agencies will have a greater volume generally of people. So, it doesn't bother me, and I'm honest now. I'm like, look, I probably won't be able to get to that until June, because or now July, because I have people, and but I also feel for you guys. I know how, but I also like hear stories about, like, I haven't gone out in over a month, and I'm like, how long have you been with this person? A month.
Takes
I'm
time.
like, no, it takes time. Give it a month and a day. Then call me, So, I mean, but anyway, that's how I feel about all that.
Yeah, no, that's very kind of you to be able to do that in the first place. So thank you in general.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah.
We're all in this together, I always say.
Michael, what's the most satisfying part of your job? Besides the paycheck. He's like, paycheck.
I haven't gotten a paycheck since 2019. What are you talking about? This is all pro bono for the last 3 years.
Well,
no, I'm kidding. And the paycheck isn't even the most satisfying. No, it would be. I feel very lucky and grateful that I like what I do. Like, I love actors. I love directors and clients, and I like this business. So I feel very fortunate that I'm still able to do that. And really, my favorite though is working with you guys. Like, it really is, because it makes it really, a certain job can really change like the whole trajectory of your career or life, and that's very fulfilling to me, to like be able to help with that. So there's really a lot of rewards with the job. The negative things would be sometimes I'm, when it's busy and there's maybe a couple of things, I'm literally at this computer for 12 or 13 hours a day, even if I was in an office prepping, like going through thousands and thousands of submissions. And that could be frustrating sometimes. I do wish that agents and managers who I love and we have good relationships with would get more selective when, when they're submitting, and not just pushing buttons and sending everything at us, because it really, we try to go through these. We really try to go through, and you all know the volume. It's like
that rolls downhill, Corbin. And then I'm running a session, and Michael's like, "This afternoon, I had AK send everybody over that's right for this category." I'm like, Michael, like, we got to get the numbers, John. We got to do it.
Crazy.
It is crazy, but I think, Michael, with what you're saying, I love hearing that, and I think that's one of my favorite things is when I'm helping cast a commercial with someone like you. We got a good assistant, and it's all kind of flowing, and you're coming in the room and you're helping the actors, and then you're doing your thing, and the energy's good, and it's not overwhelming, and you're getting strange requests or whatever it is, because that's another thing I've found. one of the changes, I don't know, maybe you felt this, Michael, is like there is a tendency, it feels like, from the client agency side to keep asking for stuff, and at some point you kind of you have to kind of say, okay, enough, because like you can do a lot, but like and so you have to kind of figure out what parameters work,
right?
What I mean?
So important. You said it so well, and that's something I learned now, doing this for longer and more advanced. Like, a lot of times they just don't know, and we have to we have to manage their expectations, basically.
Yes.
And let them know, no, we can't do that. That's, first of all, that's against the union too. We can't, if it's a union. So there's just certain things that they have to, and once they understand that, they'll work with us a lot of the time. So communication is everything, I think. But they could be like you said, like they want all these things, and you just can't have that.
Right. Well, I'm thinking about like, if you have a director who talks a lot, and then at the end they're like, "You're going to edit out the director talking all the time." You're like, "Well, it's going to be a little
I see
challenging.
what you mean. Yeah.
We don't want to hear
there.
the director.
Yeah.
The director was talking a lot, But I think the part is when you get those great directors. How do you manage your relationships with directors and producers, Michael? I don't mean manage. I just mean, is it a lot of people that you've worked with before, and
Yeah, I'm very lucky where like we get I have relationships with them, so they come back, sometimes they can't because they're, in another country, or they're, with an agency that has, we use this person, or, but it's the way it is, other people have done that with me. Like, I'm using this guy, Michael, because he comes with the agency, or, but, yeah, it's a lot of times repeat business, which is good. And then new people, that is word of mouth through here, like, oh wow, like even just this week when I was on that panel, I vibed with this one director, and he's like, oh, I want to work with you. And so you just never know. You never know how you're gonna. And it's the same with anyone in our business, directors too. Everybody, no matter what we do, actors, directors, casting directors, agents, managers, we're always looking for the next something. I think agents and managers have it full time, but most of us are independent contractors.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I'm actually, when I was doing my research, John,
good.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
You could do a little more. No. I was seeing that you have a bit of like a marketing managing background and degree and stuff. Does that help you communicate with the clients and understand, like, speak the game that they're trying to do, and like be able to have that wall and say no, like John was saying? Like, what does that lead into that?
What an interesting question, and for you to bring up, because here's one of those like 6 degrees of separation and weird events of life. I didn't know what I wanted to do after high school. I had no idea. I was happy working at McDonald's. Like, I really wanted to. I seriously was. I was like, okay, I was like a young junior manager at 17.
Were you really working at McDonald's, Michael?
I was. I really was.
Nice.
And my parents were like, "You're going to college. You're quitting." And I didn't know anything. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I went to NYU, and I was like, I'll become a business major, because I don't know what else to do. And I was a marketing and management major with a concentration in advertising, which is so bizarre. And then by the time I was a junior, I was started to get the acting bug, and like literally started taking acting classes. So I had that as a minor. And then when I graduated, I went and worked. I didn't get a job. I was interviewing with ad agencies and banks and everything. And I got a job for the Bank of New York. Quit after 3 weeks to go enrolled in the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. My family was mortified. You have this NYU business degree.
What are you doing?
I went to wait table, but interesting that I cast commercials. That advertising background came in handy. So it's just everything happens for a reason. I mean, that's the other thing too. As you get older, like you have to, like I've learned to even bad situations. I'm going to learn something from this.
Yeah.
So, it really has helped me, and it really helps me, the business background helps me understand running a business too.
Yeah. It's very specific, different language, and it's hard to know that if you don't go through it.
And then the creative language helps too, having that background, because you're able to communicate with an actor and, give direction and adjustments and, stuff like that.
Well, and that's one of the things I've definitely running sessions and also auditioning for you, Michael. I feel like you really do care about the actor. And that's one of the things that, when people come in with nerves or whatever, it's nice to feel like you've got a smiley face on the other side of the table, in a sense, or behind the camera, that's like there supporting you. And you know what I mean? I think it's always just nice to hear that.
We want you to do well. I want you to, and feel good when you come in. It's tough to prepare and wait out there and then come in. So it's your time, and we try. And if I can't be I can't always be in a commercial session, but I'm always I'm in a theatrical session. I won't read I'll have a reader there, because I can't even focus. Like if I'm reading, I want to be able to focus on, I love some casting directors can do that. I can't. I need to just be watching the actor. And, but it's really important to create that, even, as because you've run sessions for me, we want actors that love actors and understand actors to run these sessions. And I think in commercials, most Most of the session directors are also
Are
actors.
actors. Yeah, it's interesting. I sometimes think about the different like generations of like session directors, and I think that kind of
Yeah.
like the generation above me was a lot of not maybe they were actors younger, but then
Yeah.
when they were doing it, they weren't.
Yeah,
But then
I
like
remember that. I know that generation.
yeah, you know,
Yeah.
but my generation is a lot of like almost like all actors and session directors, you know. So
Yeah.
I think you're right. That's there's a couple maybe that aren't, but yeah, almost all of them are
Yeah.
actors too, which I think gives them good insight. I want to before we get to our final segment, where can people find you? I know you mentioned the email, but like on Instagram,
yeah.
what's the like the Instagram for the
Yeah.
casting office?
Sanford Casting. Yeah, Sanford
easy,
Casting
easy.
on Twitter, Sanford Casting on Instagram, Sanford
Great.
Casting on Facebook.
Great. Okay. Good.
And then
Good.
Sanford Johnston Casting for the Atlanta office.
Nice.
With Jillian. Yeah.
Nice. Great.
I have to give her a lot of credit.
I love it. I love it. Of course. Corbin, should we get to the final segment?
Yes, we should. Are you ready
All
for
right.
your
Michael,
best,
I'm not
best
ready.
bad acting? He's slowly backing away from camera, everybody. He's
He doesn't wanna be
slowly
here.
backing away. Yeah, he's covering his camera. All right, so we did something special because obviously you do TV and film, but you know I've known you a long time in the commercial space. We found a classic commercial copy for you. And so Corbin, if you take a look at it, Corbin's going to give you the lead in, and then if you look in your chat, you get to, I think you're going to recognize what this is from. Do you recognize what this is from? Do you remember this, Michael?
I don't remember, but it's
You don't remember this?
Oh, no worries. This is gonna be fun
Oh
then.
my gosh. Okay. So
it's gotta be
this is an old
Pop.
It is. It's for Tootsie Pop. You have to look it up later. This is famous, like for kids, man. This was big. So
I never watch commercials.
Yeah, I'm in it.
my son,
No, I might have seen it. I will look it up.
my son calls them skip ads because he watches on YouTube and the little
funny.
skip ads comes up and I'm like, Quill,
Yeah.
no, that's how daddy makes money. You
Yeah,
watch that. You sit and you
You
watch
sit
that.
and you enjoy
You
it.
sit and you watch it.
Watch,
You say-
he'll grow up to direct commercials.
He will. He 100% will. All right. Well, let's give this a whirl.
Okay,
Whenever
so
you
what
guys
are we
ready.
doing now?
So Corbin will start off with the first line, and then you've got the Mr. Owl.
Mr.
lines.
Owl, how many
Yes.
licks does it take to get the
Yeah.
zeros that
I can't believe you don't know. Oh
A
my
good
gosh.
question.
You need your history, Michael. You need your
I
history,
know,
your
I
commercial
know.
history.
Let's find out one.
It was this or Where's the Beef? I'm sure you knew that one, but we did
that one
this
I know,
one.
yeah.
This one-
Let's find out 1, 2. I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
So
yeah,
let me
we'll give you
explain.
background.
Before we
Yeah.
do it, the crunch is
I
when
got
you
it. The crunch
bites
is
it.
You
Yeah.
get into the tissue.
Yeah,
Okay,
eats it,
He's
yeah.
biting into it. Okay, great.
Okay, whenever you two are ready.
Okay, bad acting.
Bad actor.
It will be. I promise you.
Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop?
Good question. Let's find out. 1, 2, crunch. 3.
Oh wow!
so
It's been a
fun.
while
Look
since
at
Michael
it.
had his acting lessons. This is obvious, Michael. It's been a
I haven't
while.
had a job since 2000 with my last acting job. Now you know why I got into casting.
There's no rust on that chassis. There's no rust
actually,
there.
We'll try.
No rust.
Can we do
Okay.
another take?
Let's do another take. Yes,
I've got
yes.
something to crunch on.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. All right, let's do it again. He's got
Bite
something to
and
crunch
chew
on.
in commercials.
All right,
Okay, here we
good.
go.
All right, here we go.
Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop?
Good question. Let's find out. 1, 2, 3.
I love it.
That's
That
it.
was-
Print it. Print
it,
it. That was
send it.
amazing.
Oh, my dog just came running over.
Was it a carrot? Was it a carrot? Yeah.
So, food time, food time.
loves
Oh,
carrots.
Oh,
So
wow.
cute.
For those watching on YouTube, what's your dog's name, Michael? So
Leo.
adorable. Oh my
You'll see
God.
him on my Instagram page. I got him
Instagram.
right before the pandemic. It was the
crazy.
best thing. I have a cat too. I've had
Yeah.
it for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I was setting up an appointment for our dog Tally, and they were like a month out. I was like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "All the pandemic pets and animals." So like the vets are totally like loaded up.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
with the point, yeah. A lot of people got.
He got a job through being. I was on a Zoom call with clients,
Yeah.
and it was a pilot we were working on, and he jumped on the screen, and they're like, "Oh, we should cast him as the dog in the first scene."
Wow.
And then they did.
They did, but he couldn't deliver.
He didn't have the chops. That's fine.
He got no. They had a backup dog for him when I got. I didn't even know he got the job.
Oh
They
my
forgot to
gosh.
book him officially.
Yeah.
Called me up to show up. It was the very first scene of this TV thing,
Yeah.
and his only job was to poop, and he couldn't do it. He got stage fright.
You know, I get it.
So-
It's hard to do on camera.
It's hard to, it really
Hard to
I felt
poop on
bad
cue.
for him.
Hard
Like,
to- oh my god! I really don't want to end on the dog pooping thing, but I just feel like that's where we took it. That's where Michael took it. That's
I'm
so
sorry to TMI.
Oh my god! Well, Michael, this has been such a pleasure. I
Thank you,
so,
guys. It was so fun.
this was amazing. It was such a great conversation. Like you're such a wonderful person, wonderful casting director. You know, you're
thanks.
no,
I
you really
tried.
are. You really are. You're one of, you know, when I think about people that I've spent time with that I really appreciate being around and just treat, you know, their bosses and their employees like the same. You know what I mean? Because some
Oh,
people,
yeah.
you're one of those people. So I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Well, we are. We're all the same. Nothing comes with us when we go.
Yeah,
so
so-
I remember the day I met you. It was
You do?
Yes, it was. It was an audition, and I can't remember which studio it was. I want to say it was my friend Gabrielle Sherry's studio for a callback we were doing, and I don't remember the product.
Yeah.
But you just came over and said hello and introduced, and I knew who you were because you were called back from and you were very, very polite and very, very warm. And yeah, I do. I remember that.
That was
Yeah.
great. Yeah, that was supposed to be one of Corbin's questions, first impressions.
Yeah,
we totally
yeah, yeah.
forgot
I
of
totally
John Ruby.
forgot.
So
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you,
yeah.
Corbin.
I know.
Thanks,
Yeah,
thank you,
that's
Michael,
good.
for picking that up.
And Corbin, I remember when I met you. It was
Yeah. We were here. It was
an hour ago.
an hour ago. Yeah.
No, but I felt like I knew you from watching your work
Yeah.
and some of the podcasts too. Thank you, gentlemen.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Michael. You're the best. And thank you, everybody, for listening. So, Michael, have a great day. Have a wonderful Friday. And
Thank
we
you
will,
guys. You too.
we'll
Good
see you
meeting
soon.
Michael, so great meeting you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Nice to
Michael.
meet you. Take care.
Hey, everybody, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed Michael Sanford, which we did, and want to check out other casting directors we've talked to, you can check out Katie Taylor, Danielle Eskenazi, Lori Records, some really good episodes in there.
Yeah. So many great episodes, so many kernels of truth that you can find and just kind of pluck away. And Michael, he was just such an amazing person. Like, he learned so
lovely
much.
person.
He's just like a teacher at heart, and he's just so nice.
Yeah. He's a really great, supportive guy. Good thing to keep in mind. These casting directors, they want actors to be great, you know, they want you to be good, you know, so bring that into the room, you know, bring yourself and bring your energy. So thanks for listening to another episode of the Moving Spotlight podcast. We appreciate you. Thanks for being out there, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for listening to the
Moving Spotlight Podcast.